right, welcome back. It's time for us to get into that conversation with Professor Jonat Clegg-Lamptey. Again, he is a professor of surgery with the University of Ghana Medical School in Kolebo Teaching Hospital. He's also the co-author of A Guide to Breast Disease. I have that book right here as well. Prof, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah. So just talk to us before we get into the book directly, what your area of specialty is in terms of surgery.
Right. So, well, I'm a general surgeon, but specifically for breast.
Okay. Right. Super. Now, A Guide to Breast Diseases. This title suggests that even though maybe the focus this month is breast cancer awareness because of the ravaging effects it has on our population and on women's lives. There's a number of diseases that the breast can potentially have.
That's right.
Okay, talk to us about that.
Like you said, October is it's not so much breast cancer awareness, but breast awareness.
Breast awareness.
Because to be aware of breast cancer is to be breast aware.
Okay.
And there are things people fear about the breast which they need not fear.
Okay.
And there are things they should fear that they don't fear.
That they don't fear. Okay, so interesting.
It was very important that we let people know what the breast is and so on, and things that can happen in the breast so that they know when to be concerned and when to be not too concerned.
Okay. So what are the things, let's start from there. What are the things that people should not be afraid of that they are actually afraid of?
Well, having said before that they need not fear certain things, people should generally report any change they find in the breast.
Okay.
But quite often the things that we fear in the breast, like pain in the breast and so on, often are not that harmful.
Okay.
They could be hormonal, right?
Yes, it could be hormonal, completely physiological.
Okay.
That at some time of the month you will have some pain in the breast. It could be an infection which can give you pain and so on. But you see, the thing about breast cancer that when it starts, it's usually not painful.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And so people tend not to fear that.
Okay.
Even when they know there's a lump in their breast, because they don't have pain, they may stay at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah?
Wow.
And we see it all the time.
Okay. Okay. So pain drives people.
Yes.
And because it does that, that's why I think the awareness creation is critical.
It is. It is. I mean, there are some breast cancer patients, breast cancer that can start with pain, some, but the majority
Don't start with
actually
anything.
painless.
Wow.
And you can see a huge lump in somebody's breast,
Huge.
and yet they are sitting at home. Because it's not painful, they think it cannot be anything serious.
What's the typical journey that one person may take from noticing a tiny lump till when it becomes a death sentence? What's the typical journey?
Right. So initially it starts, we said, with a lump. Not always a lump. There are other things that can happen. I'm sure we'll be touching on that. But if left alone, then of course it's worsens. Because what cancer is that you have cells, the basic, if you like, structure of the human body, beginning to divide uncontrollably.
Okay.
And as they do so, they form a lump.
Okay.
And so if left alone, it gets bigger. It may break through the skin of the breast itself, become very sore. It may go back into the chest and so on. But the most dangerous bit is where it spreads through the blood and therefore can land in any part of the body. So once you get to that stage, then it's now incurable.
Yeah. Wow. And at what point would you say that if a patient walks in, to what extent can they go that when they walk in, you're still sure that we can get rid of it?
I would say the earliest possible time, because these cancer cells divide. Some divide rather slowly, and some divide very fast.
Okay.
So it depends on the type. We say that breast cancer is not one disease, because there are different types of breast cancer, or different forms of it, or the different behaviors of breast cancers. So it's difficult to say if you come in 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. Some have come after 1 year, and the cancer is still
Very
quite
small.
So I've come about 3 months, and the cancer has already spread.
Wow.
So the thing is,
3
as soon
months?
yes,
Wow.
as soon as you notice that change, we want to know.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about tumors. Are all tumors in the breast cancerous?
No. So a tumor is basically a growth. So some growths are, we say they are benign, and we'll explain what benign is in the book. So benign growths they are there when you remove them, they don't come back. You know, they grow to a certain extent and stop. So those are not cancerous. So a tumor is just a swelling. But there are types which are malignant, and those are the cancers. So for those ones, if you leave alone, they will spread, they will kill. If you remove them, they have the tendency of coming back again. Yes.
Now, why the breast of all tissues in the body seems to be so sensitive that it has all these plethora of diseases that can affect it? Why?
Because a lot of things happen in the breast. Okay. There's a lot of changes, new cells growing and so on and moving. So whenever you have that situation, then some things can go wrong. Moreover, it's under the influence of a hormone, the female hormone.
Okay, estrogen.
And these change in the course of the month, for example. So with all these things happening, something can go wrong. And in fact, that estrogen is one of the, if you like, the risk factors for breast cancer. Wow. And that's why you have more in women than in men.
So would you say the more estrogen you have, the more that you can actually get it? Or the lower you have? You know, some women don't have really high estrogen, and they have to take pills for it. So how does that actually correlate?
It's more of the exposure to, the duration of exposure, or the uninterrupted exposure to estrogen. So that, for example, when young girls start their periods very early in life, 9 years or something, and when
9 years,
now people start periods early, and they could go, and then they are having their menopause very late. So now they have a long period in their lives where they are exposed to this estrogen. That's a risk factor. Where they've never had any children. Then you don't have, so when you are pregnant, other hormones set in.
Yes.
Right. So where people have their children very late in life, then they also have this long exposure. So it's that long, prolonged exposure to estrogen that can be a risk factor. But there are other risk factors.
People often talk about, women often talk about maybe noticing nipple discharge and all of that. Is nipple discharge directly a problematic sign of something?
No, not necessarily. And there's one chapter here which just treats nipple discharge. There are certain things about a nipple discharge that may cause alarm. If it's bloody, it causes alarm. It doesn't mean it is breast cancer. There are other things that can give you blood nipple discharge. So if it's bloody, it's from one side and so on. I mean, if you have a non-bloody discharge from both sides and so on, it's unlikely to be cancerous. But when it's bloody, it's from one side and a few other things we look out for, then yes, it could be.
So let me take you back to the estrogen part. Yeah, because I'm so interested in this.
I can tell.
I'm so interested in this because, like, you know, we have come to know that also men get breast cancer. So does the estrogen also, you know, play a role in a man's breast cancer?
Probably not. What I said was that it is a risk factor.
Okay.
But there are other risk factors as well. So yes, and the thing about risk factors is that you can have risk factors for breast cancer and not get breast cancer. And somebody with no known risk factor can get it. So it's only a risk factor.
But is it hereditary?
Part of it is. About 1 out of every 10 breast cancers will have a hereditary component. But that's just 1 out of 10. So it means 9 out of 10
can be anything.
Can be anything.
How bad is the problem in Ghana?
It's quite bad.
First of all, bad.
Yes, I mean, in terms of numbers, it's the leading cancer. So if you take all the cancers in Ghana, 1 out of 5 will be breast. Wow. And to think that cancers can affect every part of your body from head to toe. So breast takes 1 out of 5. For women, it's 1 out of 3.
Whoa, that's very bad.
So so it's a large number, and we are losing a lot of women as well. So in 2022, we are supposed to have, well, WHO thinks we lost about 2,000 women.
From breast cancer?
From breast cancer. We had about 5,026, and we lost about 2,600 or so.
But
Wow.
is there anything that can be done to prevent it, or say, protect yourself?
Yes.
from it?
Protect yourself, yes. So with the risk factors, we talk about there are some that you can modify, modifiable factors. Some you can't do anything about it. For example, the most important single risk factor is being a woman. And you can't do anything about that. And then the other things you can modify: your diet, not taking too much fat in your diet, exercising, you know, the things that help in non-communicable diseases generally. So there are all those things you can do. But primary prevention is difficult to achieve. Or that, let's put it this way, there's no reason why you would do that and say that I wouldn't get breast cancer. Okay, so it helps. But for the individual person, you know, when somebody gets breast cancer, it's very difficult to say that this is what caused it for this person, apart from the hereditary bit. But the others, it's very difficult to tell. So that is the difficulty. Because of that, and because we've said that you may not have the risk factors and yet get it, the most important thing is not so much the prevention. Yes, do all you can. And it's not just breast cancer, it protects you from other things. But every woman should be checking. Because you could get it, in spite of everything else that you have done.
Does the size of breast matter?
No.
Wow.
It doesn't.
Regardless.
No, it doesn't.
I would have thought, maybe from a more junior level, maybe naive science perspective, that maybe the more adipose tissue you had, it may tend to more, you know, increased risk.
I mean, adipose tissue in the breast?
In the breast, yes.
Right. The breast, a lot of breast tissue is fat. But then the cancer does not arise from the fat.
Oh,
it arises from the secretory tissue,
Right.
the things that produce the breast milk and so on.
Right.
So yes, you may have a lot of fat in it,
Yes.
but somebody with less fat might have the same secretory tissue.
Okay. Okay. So now, for the viewer that's watching us at the moment, and they checked 2 months ago, is it enough? Do they need to check again? How frequently should they check?
Right.
You know.
So there are two aspects of the checking. There's the checking that the woman does herself.
Okay.
And we recommend that you do that every month. And it's not difficult. Just stand in front of a mirror, expose yourself, look, and see if there is any change.
Changes. Okay.
There are many things we talk about looking out for. Without going into any detail, I will say that if you notice any change at all, if you notice any change, just seek help. So they look at it and then they feel the breast with the palm of the fingers that on the breast, press down, move it in circular motions, just slice circular motions and cover the whole breast.
All the way around.
All the way breast, the whole breast,
Okay.
including the armpits, and do it for the other side. You can do that lying down or standing. Some prefer to do it in the bath because it's slippery
You're
and soap
already-
and so on. So we say that you can do every month. Don't do it every week.
Your period, or?
About a week after the period. It's not if you're doing it every week, you may get confused because the breasts may
Has
be changing.
tissues, yeah.
Exactly. But about a week after the periods, it's about your normal breast. So that's when you should do that.
Okay.
And if you notice any change, then report it. So that's what the woman should be doing for herself. But once a year, at least from the age of 40, once a year, we think you should have a mammogram, which is an X-ray of the breast. And usually we like an ultrasound of the breast as well. For those who are younger than 40, an ultrasound of the breast is what we do.
Okay.
And so that should be done. But again, after the mammogram, we still say see a doctor or an experienced nurse to also examine you.
Yeah.
Just to be sure. Because believe it or not, mammograms are not 100%.
Oh, they're not?
Nope.
Hey.
It gets
So
complicated.
there's a combination of things we do.
Okay.
We do to make sure that you are safe. So the doctor seeing you is part of it.
Yeah. No, I like what you've done with the book, because in here you also do diagrams showing how to check the breast, you know, physical examination and so on and so forth. What about things like skin changes, decolorization or discolorization of the skin and so on and so forth? What about those kinds of things?
Yes, we like to know once there's a skin change, including a dimple on the skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
We say you're allowed to have dimples
on your cheeks,
but not on your breast. On your breast.
The one that looks like the orange skin.
Yeah, that's
The
a
orange
worst
film.
form of it.
Yeah.
You know, but once you have that orange,
Powder orange, yeah.
great. Why you have that orange thing, it means it's gone too far.
Oh, wow.
Yes. We don't want it to get to that stage.
Wow.
So once it gets to that stage, you need it to run because it's now become locally advanced. Any skin change usually means locally advanced. The dimple doesn't mean locally, but most of the skin changes means it's locally advanced.
What's the most important part of this book for you?
For me, it's creating breast awareness, letting people know the things to look for and what to do. We've also spent time to talk about the treatment because sometimes there's a fear of losing the breast. There's a fear of the treatment.
Yeah.
And perhaps the latter part of the book, the last two chapters are important because we look at some of the misconceptions people have.
The myths and
Exactly. So we look at all the questions people have. So we pose the question and then we answer.
answer.
That is this, then we try to answer. So that people, when they read it, will have an answer to the questions they have and have a better view of what this is all
Chris,
about.
one of the misconceptions here says breast cancer is like a boil that should be allowed to ripen.
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
And people do that.
That's
And they actually go and
dangerous,
see practitioners who actually cut into it.
Oh, the cut into
And once you cut into it, you are going to convert an early cancer into a late cancer.
Yeah.
Because then it gets access to the skin and so
Everywhere,
on.
yeah. Goodness. Whoa. Anyway, Prof, we're really, really grateful. Thank you very much for, first of all, writing this book together with Dr. Na Adoko Aite, and then coming to speak to us about it as well.
Right,
Thank you.
thank
Where
you
can
very
people
much.
get this book?
It's not in many bookshops at the moment, but it's to be all over the place soon. At the moment, you'll find it in the Kingdom Bookshop in Kolebu, you'll find it in Bachona Total, and very soon it will be
To be around.
at a bookshop
Super.
near you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you. All right, we'll be speaking with Professor Joe Nat Cleglamte. He is a professor of surgery with the University of Ghana Medical School in Kolebu, and he's been talking to us about this fantastic book that he's co-authored. Let's take a look at entertainment highlights, and we'll be back with more conversations.